When you're an enthusiast DIY company who's looking to innovate, there's only so many things you can do without trying to literally reinvent the wheel. Most of that comes down to bringing a product to market in a completely new segment. And while NZXT are still fairly new to the peripheral market, having only released one product, that being the capsule microphone, which didn't exactly work as advertised at the start, they're now bringing both keyboards and mice to the market, with a plan to compete with the big boys like Corsair and Logitech. Now, NZXT aren't the first brand to try something new in the name of fulfilling that all-important ecosystem, but are the new function keyboards any good? And more importantly, should you buy one? Let's do this. I wish these files would transfer faster. Come on! Whoa, is that the FireCuda 510 NVMe drive with its blistering fast speeds of 3450 megabytes a second read, 3200 megabytes a second write, and capacities of up to 2 terabyte? I can have these files transferred in no time. And if I'm looking for the ultimate performance, I can even get the 4th generation FireCuda 520. I better check the link in the description to find out more details. Not content on bringing one model of keyboard out, NZXT are releasing 3 different sizes today, but with only one type of switch: linear, RGB, Gator-on Reds, at least for retail. If you're wanting something a bit more tactile or clicky, then it is still technically available, but you'll have to buy directly from NZXT's in-house system integrator brand, BLD, which currently is only available in certain regions, though that could change at a later date. We can only hope. So 3 models are launching, but what's the major difference? Size, of course, and yes, it does really matter, but not in the way that you think. While a full-size keyboard makes sense, more and more consumers are opting for slightly smaller keyboards to maximise their desktop space while not losing out on any of the key features that we know and love. This is why NZXT have also released the Function TKL, coming in slightly smaller, and again, with the same colour choices and language formats for all major markets. If you're maybe not sold on TKL keyboards and want something even smaller, NZXT have taken the word mini but shaken things up a bit by not only making it mini, but making it TKL at the same time. Which, while it sounds very confusing, it actually makes sense. Normally, with a mini keyboard like the K65 RGB Mini from Corsair, you'd have around 61 keys, of which some double up using the function button, very much like a laptop. Whereas the NZXT Function MiniTKL still has a full row of F buttons, all your keys for inserting, deleting, and moving up and down the page, and even a mysterious NZXT button, which basically does nothing until you install NZXT's CAM software, and then you can map it to do anything you want. I'm actually kind of surprised that it doesn't open CAM by default. Maybe they've missed a bit of a trick there. Not very exciting overall, but I guess it's better than having a blank space for a key. Now, another area where some extra buttons are hidden are on the left side of the keyboard, and no, I'm not talking about huge macro buttons like we used to see on keyboards like the Rios MK Pro from Roccat, but actually on the side of the keyboard. What we have here is a button to control the brightness of the backlit LEDs, a Windows lock key to avoid minimizing your game while playing, a mute button, and a rubber tactile volume wheel. It doesn't just stop there though, as the MiniTKL also includes an extra function key, F13, which can be again used for whatever you like. Consider it as a bit of a multi-function key to do with as you please. Maybe you want it to quickly change something mid-game, or to simply minimize all of your browser windows for a specific reason. Yeah, I'm looking at you, and I'm disgusted. So what if you're not happy with the keys or switches and want to change things up a little bit? Well, NZXT have thought about this too. While the retail versions come with ABS shine-through keycaps, if buying from BLD, you're able to get dye sublimated PBT keycaps in black or grey. Or of course, you could use your own if you wish. Much like the switches, which, after using the keycap puller and switch removal tool, can be replaced by your favourite switches instead. Speaking of keys, switches and keycaps, let's take a little listen. So what about the design? What about the build? What about the quality? Well, as I explained, NZXT aren't trying to reinvent the wheel here, and trying to differentiate one keyboard from a competitor is, frankly, pretty tricky. But there is one big distinction. In the way that NZXT motherboards have an armour-like plate over the top, the keyboards follow the same design mantra with a slightly textured aluminium top plate. I mean, it feels durable, premium, and the whole board feels heavy, which is actually a good sign. And the fact that it's available in black or white, or if buying direct in gunmetal grey, there should frankly be something for everyone. Now, when it comes to the all-important feature of any keyboard, I do feel it's a bit restrictive. I'm talking about RGB. While it has RGB and has 4 default lighting modes stored on 4 profiles, even once you open up the cam software, there just isn't as many customization options as other brands on the market. I just wanted to see a few more presets, though maybe I'm being, I don't know, a little bit picky. Luckily, as this is technically software based, this should be easily rectified through the way of updates, so isn't exactly a deal breaker, but just doesn't feel complete, if you know what I mean. Software aside though, the RGB does look good on those default profiles and doesn't bleed out all over the place or feel uncomfortable to look at for long periods of time. So how does it feel to use? Well, with any peripheral, whether it be a mouse, which isn't here, keyboard or audio gear, it really is subjective. What I like you may hate or vice versa, so I can only really give you my opinion in comparison to other keyboards I've used and hope that you've used them too, or at least have a good idea as to what I'm getting at. Now, my daily driver, and yes, as a YouTuber I had to get that in there, is a Mountain Everest Max with Cherry Speed silver switches, which is still my favourite keyboard to use. Though for the money, I get it. It's not for everyone, as it's not exactly cheap. Before that, I was using an Asus Tough Gaming K7 with optical mechanical switches, and I loved it until I moved on to the Everest and realised why Cherry are actually the market leaders. It just felt more comfortable overall, especially after longer work and gaming sessions. Sadly, the NZXT with its Gateron red switches, while it does feel nice, it also feels like I've gone backwards slightly. Again, this is personal preference, and with some more time using the function from NZXT, I'd probably get used to the switches. But that's why there's so many options on the market, and with the ability to hot swap them out, you can customize the board to however you want. So where else does the function fall short? One point that its major competitors like the G513 from Logitech and the K70 Lux RGB from Corsair both have is USB pass-through, giving you extra functionality and tidying up your desk a little bit. It's not a necessity, but I use my keyboard's pass-through more often than most, and well, it's definitely a feature that I'd miss. Everything else is as you'd expect though, with a detachable braided USB Type-C cable and a magnetic wrist rest, though only on the full-sized and TKL version, and not the MiniTKL. Now, speaking of that wrist rest, it's nice and it does feel premium, but the texture, which seems to mimic some of NZXT's unreleased audio products and kind of looks like perforated holes similar to what's seen on NZXT's line of cases, does feel a little bit weird at first. But again, it's something you'll probably get used to quite quickly. That aside, it's not as plush as other included wrist rests and is actually more solid than comforting. So just to sum the function up, it ticks all the right boxes in some way or another. It has angled rear feet to help angle the keyboard more towards you, has the ability to set your own macros to do basically anything you want, has per key lighting so you can really customize it to how you want, and has the ability to rebind any of the keys, all of which can be done through the NZXT cam software, and even stored onto one of the 4 profiles on the keyboard, meaning you don't need to keep cam installed and running to get the most out of it. So while it does have some downsides, including the lack of USB pass-through, limited lighting control in a preset sense, and is missing my personal favourite switches, for the majority of users, these aren't going to be that important. And it does feel extremely nice to type on, and that's coming from someone who likes something a bit on the quicker side. So if I can get used to it, I think you probably can too. Pricing wise, they are competitive, whether we're talking about the Big Daddy or the MiniTKL, which is actually my favourite, as I don't feel like I'm compromising too much, and that's coming from a guy who's a fan of big keyboards and someone who uses a number pad quite frequently, so that's saying a lot. I also like the fact that the aluminium top plate matches that of the motherboards, and I guess I can kind of see where NZXT are going with this, as they're not the only brand trying to diversify into other areas. On top of this, you will see that NZXT have launched a mouse today, but ours was lost in the post. So maybe we'll do something with that if and when it arrives. I guess maybe a headset is the next logical step for them. Who knows? Maybe this is next, providing it meets their quality standards, unlike the Air headset, the Stund and Mixer products that never saw the light of day, and I'll never get over the naming structure on that. What I do know is that if you like this video, a big thumbs up and a sub to the channel would be greatly appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.